Hello, everybody, and welcome to another My Music. You know what's coming because it's just me on the screen. And when that happens, that means that there are more than one guest in the studio today. So get ready for Liam and Dan. They're going to be here any minute now for a bit of a forensics investigation. Are you ready for it? Let's find out.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
And just like that, look, we're all in. There we go. Hi, guys.
Hey,
Hello.
all right.
Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Go on, Dan.
Oh,
Oh, go on, it's you. You first.
Hello, I'm Dan. I am the drummer for the Forensics.
And I'm Liam. I'm the singer and rhythm guitarist for the Forensics.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Do you actually like forensics, either of you?
You know, everyone asks us that actually. Someone said, "Do you like crime documentaries? Is that where the name come from?" And no, like not really.
Not really my thing. No.
No, it's not
No.
really where it came from. We just we were just brainstorming, and it was just the name that came up, and we were like, "Yeah, that works. That sounds good."
Yeah.
Like, just kind of had a thing that just stuck out, and we just stuck with it. Really.
Cool. Have either of you ever had a DNA test then?
No, not yet.
No.
Anyway,
No.
Yeah.
There you go. There's just absolutely no reason for it whatsoever. What about you? Did you think about different ways of spelling it when you first decided you were going to call it forensics? Or You
we took
decided-
inspiration. We did a gig in Glasgow, and it was spelled PH.
yeah, right.
And we were tempted to change the name to that. It was quite funny. We saw it like, that's got a pretty cool feel about it. Instead of just the standard
Yeah.
F. But no, we changed our name once or twice before calling ourselves the Forensics, so we couldn't change it another time.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, you see, people are going to ask those questions. When you take up a name like that,
Mhm.
you might have been really into. I mean, there was a show on when I was a kid called Quincy, and he was a forensic investigator. He was, great program that was. I thought I might go into forensics for a while. Seemed quite, there was just something about it, being able to solve crimes and whatever with all of that stuff. Actually, when you watch that show now, you realise that back then it was very, very limited, and we're getting really, really good at this stuff now.
Yeah,
A bit like music.
yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Much easier in a way to do all of the clever stuff music wise now than it was years and years ago.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried recording any of your music in a more oldie style? How do you record your music? Is it all like using computers and stuff like that, or have you ever just tried doing it on 1/4-inch tape and stuff?
No, so it is all kind of a mix of digital and analog, but not kind of like the old style with tape and stuff, which is something we'd love to do. I think the idea of really, because you're quite limited, like you say, in terms of you kind of have to commit to takes. So that's quite an interesting challenge, I think, that we kind of quite enjoy to take on. Like getting a take down and just being like, right, that's the one. You can't go over it, you can't delete it. It's kind of there. But yeah, at the minute, yeah, there's a lot of tech involved, which has its upsides as well. Like, it makes it a lot easier, a lot more streamlined, and kind of we spend a long time in the studio, so sometimes it makes it a little bit easier time wise, because we could be in there for, I think we could, if it was up to us, we could be in there for months at a time. Yeah. So it makes it a little bit easier, especially for Tom, who's our producer. I think he just find it a lot easier to work with.
Are you quite inspired by sort of the music of the past? Are you do you like the kind of sound of old records compared with like some of the sheen of modern stuff today? I mean, it sounds like you're a band that likes a decent song, if you know what I mean. You want to actually write a decent tune, as opposed to you know, just putting down the beat. So are you quite inspired by like stuff from previous generations?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, being close to Manchester, you've got all the, the history of the Manchester music scene. And I quite personally like, especially for the drums and that kind of thing, that kind of trashy sound. That sounds like there's just like a lot going on, but it's kind of like a controlled sound at the same time. Yeah, so like being able to replicate stuff like that, it's just like, it's great.
Trashy. That's a technical term, right?
Yeah, that's like a drummer technical term. That.
Do you mean like things like, you know, like over reverb or something on the drums?
Yeah, just like a lot of like cymbals where they're just like washing. And yeah, exactly.
Controlled mess.
Exactly that. Yeah.
What about you, Liam?
Yeah, you know, we take a lot of inspiration from a load of bands from, you know, back in the day and all up to kind of like current and stuff. I kind of grew up in the house listening to a lot of Northern Soul records and Motown and things like that. So I think that type of music is very much, like you say, like built on the song. Like the songs are just, then they stand the test of time because the songs are absolutely incredible. As well as the musicianship and, you know, the singers and stuff are unmatched from that era. But even so, like, you know, modern music, if we still take loads of inspiration from modern music, we all kind of like have quite a big array of taste, I would say, and we have a lot of inspirations that like individually that kind of forms what the band is inspired by. So I think that's why I would say our music is like, you can't really pigeonhole it into kind of being like, you can't tie it to another artist. You know, you can't say, oh, you know, it just sounds like an Arctic Monkeys or an Oasis or whatever. It's kind of like, because it takes little tiny pieces from a lot of different areas and a lot of different eras as well. So yeah, we love all sorts. We love all sorts.
And jelly beans and jelly babies. You know,
yeah,
all other sweets are available, etc. So out of all of the band, who's got the most embarrassing taste in music?
Dan. Absolutely, Dan.
Really?
I'll let Dan explain why that is.
So last year, my girlfriend absolutely loves Nicki Minaj, and I took a friend and a sister to when she played in Manchester at the Co-op Live. And to be fair, I say it's not my thing, but they do not shut up about it now. Constantly grilling me about going to see Nicki Minaj live. But in fairness, it was dead good. I didn't feel like I wasted my couple of hours of my life going to
Did you shake your booty, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely.
You did, didn't you?
I think I spent half the time looking up at the ceiling.
Well, starships are meant to fly, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I was just looking after them.
Yeah, absolutely. What was it? Well, what was it? Okay, let's be fair, right? What was your biggest takeaway from a gig like that? Was it the you know, putting a whole performance together? Was it the, you know, sort of the combination of the lighting and the whatever, the choreography, or
there was just a lot of like dressing changes.
Yeah,
I think she changed outfits at least a dozen times.
So are you saying Liam needs to change outfit more often during the gig?
I think it just keeps people more interested. I think after every song at a half an hour set, you should do it.
Would you be up for that? Would you be up for that, Liam?
I think we probably get 3 songs in, I think, in a set, which I'm not sure if people want to just see me stand at the side of the stage and just keep changing.
I'd be even more impressed that a couple of songs would just transition one to another if you changed midway through them. I think
while the rest of the band keeps playing.
Yeah. Exactly. But a lot of backing track there was as well, which I thought was quite interesting, more than I'm used to, or more than I notice anyway at gigs like that. But yeah,
do you know, it's really funny. One of the things I've seen sort of up and coming bands try and do, like the costume change thing, and of course the thing is when you're someone like Nicki Minaj or whatever, and you see it like I think we all saw it a couple of years ago when Lana Del Rey did it at Glastonbury or whatever. not only like have you got these costumes that are specially made, they're not just off the peg thing, right?
Yeah.
But also you've got a team of people actually getting you in and out of these things, and like
Yeah,
dancers tweaking it and making sure that it's like, you know, when I've seen like bands on the up trying to do it at like local gigs or whatever, it's a complete disaster. Someone's like, you know, it looks like they're doing a sack race at school. They're trying to get, you know, their leg out of one thing and into another, and they're kind of falling over backstage. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I think until you've got that massive team around you and whatever, it's a complete thing. It might not be your thing anyway, Liam. Do you know what I mean?
No. I mean,
You know?
our guitarist Jordan, he likes to if we've got a gig midweek that's kind of like we're on a bit on the minutes to get in there, he does like to turn up in his work uniform and play the gig in his work uniform. So that's kind of
quite
a bit
cool.
of a costume. He could probably do with a costume change mid-gig, to be honest.
I did see someone do it once, actually, which I thought, this is quite good. This works quite well. Which is that they had a different T-shirt on with the title of each song that they were going to play, and they literally started it. It was in winter, so it was okay, because actually, obviously, as you play a gig, you get warmer as you warm up. So they started with all of the T-shirts on, and then they just kept pulling the T-shirts off layer by layer. So the next song was there. That works.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, definitely.
That could be a thing. What are you writing about?
We're right about all sorts, really. I think we've had our music described as being quite like dark undertones, quite moody, a bit. I don't know if I would describe it this way, a bit sexy in a way. Like there's a lot of. I think it's strange when you start writing music, you know, when you're first starting out, because your friends and your family are listening, and people kind of always assume when you're the songwriter, they're always asking like, who is that about? Is that about me? Is that about, you know, the person that you're in a relationship with, etc., etc., etc. And some of it is shaped by like your experiences as a person, like your personal experiences. But some of it, I think, is like shaped by just things you observe, things you see. So it might not be about you. It might, you know, you could be describing a couple drama or something, but that might not be about you. It might be about just someone you've seen in the street, or, you know, somebody you know, or somebody you've heard of, or etc., etc. So yeah, I think I'd try and just observe the world, and, you know, and how people interact with each other. It's a lot of person to person. I feel like it's easy to talk that way, and I feel like people can relate to that when they're kind of singing songs where they can kind of put themselves in the kind of like almost in the shoes of the writer, in a sense. So when they're listening to it and they're singing back to it and they're singing the words, they can talk about themselves in that situation. I think that makes it more relatable and things like that. So yeah, a lot of person to person social interaction and things like that.
Well, it is a funny thing, you know. I'm not sure that many people give 100% of themselves in a song. There's always got to be something of yourself in there. I asked someone the other day, I said, like, on a semantic differential scale, like this end 0 being like nothing of yourself and that end being 10 all of yourself, where do you kind of rate yourself? So where would you sit? How much of it is you? How much of it is made up sort of embellishment?
I would say, to be fair for us, I'd say like a 6 or a 7. I would say. I think yeah. There's no smoke without fire, isn't there? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you know, you've got to kind of, I couldn't write about something that I've never experienced, and I think that's why I try not to write too much about things that, you know, I haven't been through, like social issues and stuff that, you know, I can't really say, I can't put myself in the shoes of those people that go through certain situations. I can only, you know, write from experience and things like that. So there's always that element of like part of it is part of me. But yeah, I think, you know, does anyone really want to hear about like somebody in the mid-20s who lives in a little town up north? Like, you've got to try and make it a little bit more interesting while you're writing about it. So there's always a little bit of that to kind of make it more of a song that people can really get onto and stuff. But yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think, you know, people do. I think it's just the way that you then tell that story, isn't it?
Yeah,
You,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah,
I think you've got to over dramatize it to a certain extent in order to bring people in.
yeah.
You know, I'm pretty certain that Morrissey didn't actually have a girlfriend in a coma. I'm pretty certain that, you know, that he didn't really go around wishing everybody an unhappy birthday. But it sounds better, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah. I mean, Morrissey could. I could imagine Morrissey going around and wishing people an unhappy birthday. To be fair, he seems like the type of guy.
We could imagine. Yeah, we could imagine it, but maybe not. You know.
No, probably not. He's probably too shy to say.
I think. Yeah, I think behind the scenes, he was actually, you know, a much more of a pushover than. I've got to be careful what I say now. He'll probably be around the house later, just trying to kick the door down. Do you know what I mean? And he's got muscles now. Do you know, when he was in the Smiths, he was like really skinny, wasn't he? And it was nothing of him. And then later on, probably because he said some stuff that was quite controversial, he decided to beef himself up a bit. Sensible lad, really.
Yeah.
Kind of knew what he was doing there. I'm not having those people around the house doing all of that. Who would you love to play with? If we could get you a support slot tomorrow, anybody in the world, who would that be?
Well, I think there's a band from Manchester that are going on tour this year that I think we wouldn't quite mind supporting after a long time of not being together. So yeah, I think that'd be a good choice.
Yeah. Well, I think the Beverly Sisters would love to. Oh, are you Oasis? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Who do you think is going to get? Do you think there will be a surprise support slot on any of that tour? Do you think they're going to slot somebody in last minute? That's, you know, I'd love it if they did. I'd love it if they just gave that to a complete underdog and slotted someone in.
I think. Well, we so both Dan and myself, we were at Blossoms at Wivenshaw Park when it was announced on the screen, or like the teaser was announced on the screen, and I kind of thought, oh, maybe that's a indication that maybe, because I know that Blossoms have toured. I think maybe toured with them both. I think they've toured with Noel.
Definitely toured with Noel.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe that might happen, which would be fair enough. To be honest, I'd enjoy that as a support if I was going. But then I think there was a bit of talk about Fontaines being a big, obviously, because they're obviously going like astronomical at the minute, which is fair enough. But obviously then there was a little bit of a back and forth, a bit of a spat around. They didn't really want it and stuff like that, which is fair enough. That's their choice. So
well, yeah, but that do you say that you don't want it so that you get it? Right, especially when it's Oasis.
Was it that Carlos said he didn't care that they were getting back together or something like that, and it caused a massive kerfuffle? Yeah. No, I'd love them to give it to someone like completely like not within the genre. I'd love it if they gave it to Kneecap. It's just like people going nuts for that. I love Kneecap at the moment. I think they're doing great stuff.
Cool. Yeah, no, I could see that. Or someone, some sort of dance act or something like that. That'd be quite interesting. Well, yeah, do you know what I mean? Just something really obscure.
Not what anyone's expecting at all.
I mean, they could give it to somebody like I know they did stuff with Chemical Brothers back in the day, didn't they? They're from Manchester. I mean, that would be quite an interesting one, I think. Definitely.
I think so, because and actually it would be a sensible move in a way, because then there's no competition there. Really.
Yeah.
It would just seem really sensible. But no, I'd love it if they just literally gave it to like somebody, you know, like yourselves. That would be marvelous, wouldn't it?
That'd be perfect. Yeah.
We're definitely available if anybody's listening for Oasis, and then you're looking for
anybody from that team is listening. You know, if you just want to give it to the forensics, that they will happily say that they're happy that you got back together. They're not going to risk the opportunity, as it were. That would be a great gig. What's the one uncommon Oasis song that you think they should play? Not one of the obvious ones, but something that you think that they should play. That
I love Hindu Times, but do they not already play that at the set? Or do they?
They've got a big set, aren't they?
Yeah.
Ones that they're not going
They've
to
got
play.
a lot of great songs. It's almost an impossible one to choose, isn't it? But no, I think Hindu Times is one of my favourite Oasis songs. I just love the vibe of it, and that that sound that plays at the start kind of sounds like a bit, like mystical kind of thing. Just proper love it.
I'd like to see them do Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. I think it'd be so funny. I'd just like to see Liam.
They might not, because she might be the surprise support.
Yeah, but I just like to see like Liam leaning forward, giving it some. It's like,
yeah,
mommy Espresso. I just think it'd be brilliant. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The whole crowd going absolutely, and then bring Sabrina on and don't let her sing.
She could be like Bez and just give her a maraca.
You just give her get all that happening. That would be funny, wouldn't it? What a moment in pop history that would be. Yeah, let's have Sabrina on, and we won't even let her sing. She can just dance, and then she can go off again. That would be marvelous. They might. Do you know what? There may be some surprises. I think when that happens, we may even see people like. Dare I say it? We may even see people like Damon Albarn appear. It could be interesting. Could be a runaround, but it would be interesting to see just what happens on that tour.
Yeah,
I would imagine
do tricks up the sleeves, don't you?
Yeah, I would imagine they'd. I'd be very, very, very surprised if we don't see an appearance from one of either Johnny Marr or John Squire. If I'm honest.
Well, yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Johnny Marr's at every gig in Manchester ever. He was always a special guest, which I'm not complaining about because he's my absolute hero. So I'd be 100% into that. But I think given Liam and John Squire did that joint album last year, which I went to see, that was a great gig in Manchester. And obviously he played at Nebworth, didn't he? I think.
Do you think we'll almost get like a Rolling Stones moment where like they literally just keep bringing on more and more guitarists, and it's just like, and then they all try and play a song with like multiple guitarists, and it just sounds like a complete mess. But it doesn't matter because everybody's just pleased to see all of these famous names on stage all at the same time. I think that could be great.
I think it'd be brilliant if they did. I don't know. I wonder though with Oasis whether they don't tend to do the traditional kind of what everyone else does, do they? It wouldn't surprise me if they just did just them, just stuck it out as just. This is what you paid for. This is what you get. Type thing. That's their vibe, isn't it? I think.
Well, everyone's just hoping they make it through the whole thing
without falling out.
Yeah,
100%.
Without a fight ensuing midway through. That could be. Oh dear. That could be fun. What are you working on at the moment?
Well, we are in the middle of recording three new tunes in the studio. We're kind of ramping it up a bit this year. We did our first gig after 6 months on Wednesday. We had a bit of time out to kind of regroup and kind of figure out, what direction we wanted to go in, what we wanted to work on, how we wanted to kind of like try and take the next step and stuff. And a big part of that was getting back in the studio, doing some more tunes. And then on Friday next week, we've got our first new single out since last year. That's kind of one of 2 singles that will be coming out in the kind of short term. So yeah, lots of new music.
Any surprises in there in terms of what people might get going forward from you? Anything slightly different?
Not just guitar.
Not just guitar.
Not just guitar. Incorporate a few new instruments into not all the songs, but some songs.
When you say new instruments, what are you talking about? Something about like kazoo?
Not at the moment. No, we still got to go in June, so we might might get kazoo in there, but
God, marvelous.
but
Yeah.
no, we've got a sax in one of the tunes,
Okay.
and then some with one of the tunes that we need to finish. We're gonna get some strings involved, and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's feeling like these couple of times in the studio have been a lot more creative than other times. I don't know if that's just become because we've got more experience in recording, or maybe we've just realised this is what we want to do. What can amplify that? Well, these instruments will just make these tunes sound so much better. So
Well, the other thing is tech allows you to take that on the road as well now. I mean, I've been to see like Shed 7 a few times lately, you know, and like where they've got like string sections and whatever, they just put it on the big screen behind, and it's all, you know, they all sync play to that, which is great. So you get the live band in front and the, you know, the strings behind. Although they've been taking like a small brass section on tour with them as well. Would you love to do that? Would you like to, you know, if people volunteers would allow or whatever? There's no payment. You're not getting paid for it, but you can cut. We'll buy you a point.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we had the budget, I think, I think it'd be a dream. It'd be a dream to have like massive orchestra, you know, really like probably even go over the top, like, you know, one that's probably too big that you put so unnecessary
like that.
Yeah, like it's so unnecessarily big. Like you can't really hear the rest of the band. It's just like full on, like you feel like you're recording like a film score or something. Like just the whole stage is just this massive orchestra,
and then a whole gospel choir comes out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that'd be that'd be quite a nice experience. I think we'd love to do something like that. I think because, you know, we've just talked about, we're fans of like Oasis and stuff, and you hear some of their tunes and you have the big string sections in the back, and it really does give you that, like, boost the emotion. I think it makes that like the drama of it all. It's like theater, isn't it? Like you've got like, if you have like that big orchestral sound in the background, and I think it just sounds really cool. It you know, it just makes like a little 4-piece go from like, you know, one sound to, you know, massive sound. So yeah. We'd definitely be interested in that. 100%.
Cool. What would we never hear from you?
Nicki Minaj, I think.
Hey. I was waiting for that.
Never get a feature from Nicki Minaj, I don't think, unfortunately. No. Sorry, Nikki. It's
having said that though, right, this is almost now a challenge, right? I almost feel like this is a challenge. I almost feel like you need to take a Nicki Minaj song and actually forensics it, right? And make it into a decent, make it into a song.
Yeah.
Well, I actually, it weren't Nicki Minaj, but I pitched the idea that we should do a cover of Last Friday Night by Katy Perry, and it just got turned down straight away.
Yeah,
I think that's got a sax solo in it as well. Actually.
It has, hasn't it? Yeah.
I just feel like that's just too close, though. I mean, I just feel like that's still got some song structure and whatever. I just feel like you need to take something that's really quite far away, right? That's like rap with hip hop beat and whatever, and you turn that into you know, the kind of beautiful sound that you make. You know,
imagine Anaconda, our version.
I don't think I could bring myself to sing those lyrics on a stage in front of anybody, to be honest. I don't think I could do it at karaoke, let alone or one of our gigs.
Oh, my word.
No, it'd be a challenge, definitely, I think.
Yeah. If anyone would like to see that, please do vote. Let us know. What we ought to do is set up a voting line, and if people donated enough money, then that would that could happen.
Yeah, we'll do a full Nicki Minaj gig for charity. We'll do a full set, an hour of Nicki Minaj covers for charity.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? I don't know, if people gave enough money, then it would happen. I'd pay for that. You know, I'd definitely pay to see that.
I'll even get the costume changes in and all.
Oh, now we're talking.
It's just forensic suits with different colour sequences. That's what it is.
Yeah.
you do realize that when I make these things, I then cut them up and there's little clips, and I can take everything out of context. So I'm so glad that we've got all of that now. Dan's laughing because he knows what the clip is already.
Yeah, I absolutely know what's going on.
How can people out there help you as a band?
I think there's a lot of ways to support bands nowadays, which I think is quite good. I think it's strange because I think when you're in a band, you really want people to just listen to the music, and that is absolutely fantastic. But unfortunately, as we all know, places like Spotify, Apple Music, etc., don't pay bands fairly or very well, which is not.
You're joking.
Yeah.
You're joking.
Which might be a bit of a surprise to some people. But I think, to be honest, to be like brutally honest about it, I think a lot of like the general public don't actually know that. Like people have said to me before, "Oh my God, your song's on Spotify. That's amazing." They don't realize that you just go to a distributor, you pay however much it is, and they upload it, and the day after it's on, and then people can start streaming it. And they also don't realize that you get 0.0000008p per stream or whatever.
Well,
it is.
this is the thing. The way to explain it to people is, folks, do you remember when you go to an arcade and you take £10 and you put it into that machine, and you get all of those 2p pieces out, and then you put a load of those 2p pieces into said 2p slot machine, and they fall in, and a small amount comes out, and then you get the tickets, and you pull up all of those tickets, and then you go to the thing and you get some inanimate plastic object which costs 50p. That's what streaming is like for musicians. Okay, so they put a lot of money in, and very little comes out the other end. It's as simple as that, really. So sorry, just to explain to people in case they thought that it's all kind of magic, and when you've got 10,000 streams of your song, that suddenly makes you famous and rich. No, it doesn't. Not at all. That's why Kate Nash was started her OnlyFans and was talking about it recently. And the fact that for her to go on her European tour, she would be X many thousands of pounds in debt, and therefore you've got to find a way of supporting that.
It's unfortunately it's not it's becoming less and less viable for bands that are kind of doing it from scratch, which that's just what we are. Like, for normal working class lads who work 9 to 5s in the week and try and make music a viable thing, in our kind of spare time, and we absolutely love it, and the dream is to kind of go on and have a career in music, but it's so hard if you don't have so much money to pump into it behind it. And that and we're all now trying to scramble for a viral TikTok hit and all that stuff. We can't rely on it, and that's the thing. And what we can rely on is people buying a ticket to a gig and and turning out and supporting you that way, and buying the merch. And if we're bringing vinyls out, buy the vinyls, because that's what is gonna fund the next single, or the next vinyl release, or the next t-shirt, or the next recording session. That's what funds it. So that's what we really need people to do, and that's the best way you can show your support for artists. And the thing is, our gigs are not massively expensive. They're less than a tenner half the time. I think you can't get much for less than a tenner nowadays. So I think spend £5-6 quid going to your local venue and seeing your local band, because it means the absolute world to them, and it will support them to carry on. Otherwise, you end up like, we're from Preston, and we've seen venues like the Ferret in Preston absolutely fighting to stay open. Loads of venues up and down the country fighting to stay open. You don't turn out and support bands and support venues, you'll turn around, there'll be no local bands, there'll be no local venues, and you'll all be paying 300 quid for an Oasis ticket as a minimum. And that's because that's all they'll be left. They're the only people who'll be able to keep.
Well,
keep
it's worse than that, and this is what people got to realise. You won't be going to see those bands either, because all of those bands learnt to do what they did or doing all of those other gigs, right? Mm-hmm. You don't get bands that suddenly are able to play things like Wembley as of tomorrow and be good, right? without them cutting their teeth. I can remember when Oasis came to Bedford many years ago, and they were like 10 quid a ticket.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If they hadn't done all of those gigs, they might have still been talking to each other. No, if they hadn't done all of those gigs, they wouldn't have got to the successful level that you know, and the quality that they got to, because you know that's where you cut your teeth. That's where you learn how to do your craft. That's where you get good at doing what you do.
And that's part of the journey as well, I think, for supporting a band, is you get to see them in a little venue playing to like 30 people.
It's the
and then
best. It's the best.
You get to see them progress on and on and on. And then next thing you know, you're watching them. I mean, we've watched the Snuts in Blackpool at like 100 capacity venue. And then I went to watch them at Manchester Victoria Warehouse the other week. And it's like, I've met them and seen them in like, 1 meter away from me. And now I'm seeing them on a massive stage in front of like thousands of people. It's a mad feeling. And you feel so much more connected to the artist through that, I think, rather than just, oh, this band just appears that you don't know, and they're now playing this massive stadium and you'll never get close to them. It's like, how can you invest in that? You know what I mean?
Totally. Well, thanks, guys, for coming in. Thanks for talking to me today. I think one good support act to maybe aim for at some point would be the Sherlocks.
Yeah.
And I mentioned the Sherlocks today, and mind you, it might not be today by the time this gets out, but this Friday, the last Friday gone, when we were recording this, is when the Sherlocks have just released their new album, and hopefully it will do very, very well. There's an independent band really kind of pushing it, so there you go. We can do it. We can support independent musicians. We can help them move up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
just have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Go buy the t-shirts.
Definitely. We need to order some more, to be fair.
Yeah, well, there you go.
We'll keep pumping them out.
Pumping them out. That's great. If you're pumping them out, imagine that in some kind of like tankard somewhere. A tanker, you just
t-shirt gun. Yeah.
There's your t-shirts. Come on, everybody.
Yeah.
If you get a local council to pay you to line the streets in forensic t-shirts, that would be marvelous, wouldn't it?
It'd be very good.
Folks, this is the wonderful Forensics. You've been watching them on here. Now your job is to go and check out their music and add it to your playlist. If you don't do that, we'll be finding you with our particular set of skills, and we'll be round to add it to your playlist by force. That could happen. We will be back soon with another MyMusic. Until then, from Liam, Dan, and myself, bye for now.
Cheers, thank you.